I knew something was wrong the moment the glass slipped from her hand. It didn't fall, didn't shatter, or even tilt. It slipped, slow and unnatural, like her fingers forgot what they were supposed to do. Elena's eyes darted to mine, wide and startled, as if she'd been caught in a lie she hadn't voiced yet. Her throat bobbed. Her lips parted. Then she bent down quickly to grab the glass before it could roll off the counter. "Sorry," she whispered. "Long day." She forced a smile. It didn't reach her eyes. I should have ignored it. I should have chalked it up to exhaustion. But the moment carved itself into me like a razor nick. Small, almost meaningless, but impossible to forget once the sting began. We had been married 8 years. Long enough to know each other's breathing patterns, silences, habits, the way she always twirled her hair counterclockwise when lying, the way she'd hum nervously when hiding something, the way she lifted her left shoulder slightly when she was about to say something she didn't want heard. Tonight, her whole body was made of those tells. And I could taste metal at the back of my throat, an instinctive warning I didn't know how to explain. "Everything okay?" I asked. She startled as if the question were a trap. "Yeah," she said too quickly. "Why wouldn't it be?" I watched her move, eyes following the glass she set on the drying rack. Her hands were trembling. She tucked loose strands of hair behind her ear, even though they weren't there. And then I saw it. Barely a twitch, barely anything. But I knew her too well. She glanced toward the hallway before turning back to me, as if checking whether we were alone, as if someone else might be listening. When the doorbell rang later that night, she jumped like a gunshot went off beside her head. I frowned, expecting someone. She didn't answer until she inhaled through her nose, a steadying breath meant to sound casual. "Probably a package," she murmured. "You know how UPS is, they never ring during the day." But when I went to open the door, she grabbed my wrist. It wasn't a tight grip, but it was enough. "I'll get it," she said softly. "Elena." She stepped around me, forcing a light laugh. "You worry too much." She opened the door barely a crack, just wide enough for her to slip out. I heard low voices, hers hushed and urgent, the other deeper, familiar in a way that made my stomach twist, but I couldn't make out the words. I shouldn't have listened. Marriage shouldn't involve eavesdropping. But she whispered with a secrecy that stung deep. When she finally came back inside, she shut the door faster than she meant to. Her face was pale. "Just a delivery mistake," she said. "They gave us the wrong box." But they didn't leave anything. She paused. Her eyes flicked again. "Hallway, kitchen, hallway." "I took it to the car," she said. "I'll drop it off tomorrow." It was such a harmless explanation. So simple. So stupid. Yet her voice shook through the entire sentence. "Elena," I said quietly, "what's going on?" She stared at me. The silence stretched. And then something inside her snapped shut. "Nothing," she said, too firmly. "Just work stress. Just life." She kissed my cheek, brushing past me. But her lips were cold. And I knew she was lying. The next morning, she woke before me. Her side of the bed was already cold. She hadn't slept much, if at all. She moved like someone hungover on fear. Coffee brewed. Toast burnt. She didn't eat any of it. "I have an early meeting," she said, fumbling with her keys. "Don't wait up tonight. It'll be a late one." At any other time, I would have believed her. But as she grabbed her purse, something small fell out, a folded slip of paper. She froze the moment it hit the floor. And so did I. We both stared at it. She moved first, kneeling to pick it up, but I was closer. My fingers closed around it before hers did. Our eyes met, hers wide, terrified. "Give it back," she whispered. I unfolded it. There were only 5 words, written in a hand I recognized but didn't want to. "We can't keep doing this. My bus. Michael." A chill spread through me, slow and suffocating. Elena snatched the paper from my hand and stuffed it into her bag. "It's not what you think." "What exactly do I think?" I said, my voice flat. She opened her mouth. Closed it. Her gaze dropped to the floor. "Elena," I said again. "Talk to me." She shuddered, one tiny, involuntary tremor. But instead of explaining, she turned and walked out the door. And the sound of the lock clicking behind her felt final. I didn't go into work. I couldn't. The idea of seeing Michael, my mentor, my boss, arguably the closest friend I had outside of Elena, made my blood boil. Or freeze. I wasn't sure which. I sat on the couch and replayed every moment of the last 6 months. The late nights. The cancelled plans. The way she flinched when her phone buzzed. The sudden defensiveness about work. I'd rationalized all of it. We'd both been stressed. Life gets busy. Couples drift. It happens. But now I saw it. The cracks. The secrets. The space between us she never wanted to explain. I should have confronted her harder. I should have demanded answers. Instead, I just sat there in a silent house that suddenly felt like someone else's. When my phone vibrated, I flinched. Michael, 9:43 a.m. Need you in the office today. Urgent. My throat tightened. Urgent. Right. I typed a reply. Not coming in. Seconds later, he called. Seeing his name flash across the screen brought a wave of nausea so strong I had to swallow hard. I let it ring out. Then he called again. And again. I answered on the 4th try, not because I wanted to hear him, but because I needed to. What? I snapped. A pause. Then his smooth, even voice, we should talk. I almost laughed. Talk? About what? You know about what? Silence. My hands shook. Meet me, he said. We can clear this up. Clear what up, Michael? Another pause. Longer. I imagined him pressing his palms to his eyes, trying to think of a story that would save him. Not on the phone, he said. There are things you don't understand. And then he hung up. I stared at the screen, trembling. Rage churned in me, but beneath it was something worse. Hope. Hope that he'd explain everything. Hope that it wasn't what it looked like. Hope that I hadn't lost both my wife and my best friend in one morning. But hope is a cruel, stupid thing. I drove to his office, wind slicing through the cracked window, filling the car with cold air that kept me from passing out from sheer stress. When I arrived, he was already there, leaning against his desk, sleeves rolled up, face pale. He looked scared. Close the door, he said. I didn't. Fine, he muttered. Have it your way. I crossed my arms. Start talking. He rubbed his temples. I never meant for any of this. I swear. Meant for what? My voice was low, brittle. Elena and I. It wasn't supposed to happen. The word slid into me like a blade. You're sleeping with my wife. His jaw clenched. It was a mistake. How long? He hesitated. How long? I repeated, louder. 6 months. I'd known. God, I'd known. But hearing it spoken, felt like being slammed through ice. And you didn't think, I whispered, that maybe you should tell me. He looked at me with something like pity. You were already falling apart, man. I didn't want to make it worse. Falling apart? I felt my vision blur with fury. You think I'm falling apart now? Thanks to you. I'm sorry, he said softly. I swear, I ended it. That note wasn't what it looked like. It wasn't. What wasn't it? I snapped. His throat bobbed. She wanted to run away with me. My stomach dropped through the floor. What? She said she couldn't do this anymore, couldn't watch you suffer while pretending everything was fine. Pretending. I nearly roared. He lifted his hands. I told her no. I told her it had to stop. That's what the note was. She didn't take it well. Something icy slithered down my spine. What do you mean she didn't take it well? He looked at me, truly looked, and for a moment I saw genuine fear in his eyes. I think, he said slowly, she's not stable right now. I think she might do something reckless. I laughed once, sharp and humorless. To herself. He hesitated. No, he said. To you. The room tilted. What the hell are you talking about? I whispered. He swallowed hard. She told me, if I didn't leave with her, she'd make sure you didn't stay in the picture. By what? Divorcing me. His silence chilled my skin. Michael, I said, my pulse roaring in my ears. What did she say? She said, he murmured, that accidents happen. A chill so deep it felt like drowning surged through my chest. And last night, he added, voice cracking, she told me she was done waiting. My blood ran cold. You think she's going to hurt me? I don't think, he said. I know. For a long, suffocating moment, neither of us breathed. Then he whispered the words that detonated everything. She said she already started. My heart stopped. What do you mean, started? Michael looked at me with hollow eyes. Did anything you ate or drank taste strange last night? I staggered back. My mouth went dry. No, I said. No, nothing. But my mind flashed to the glass she dropped. The way she watched me drink. The fear in her eyes. The tremor in her hand. Elena wouldn't, I choked. He closed his eyes. She would. A deafening silence enveloped us, thick and suffocating. And then a new thought formed. Dark, chilling, undeniable. If she really had tried to poison me, she might be planning something worse. I didn't wait to hear anything else. I ran. I didn't know where I was going. Home, the police, anywhere. But I knew one thing with absolute clarity. I wasn't safe. Not anymore. I didn't remember locking the car. I didn't remember the drive either, only fragments. Red light bleeding into rain. The radio a muffled thing in the background. My hands white-knuckled on the wheel while my head brimmed with images I couldn't unscramble. The city blurred like a smear of wet paint. The world reduced to one urgent, incandescent point. Elena had tried to kill me. The ER smelled like bleach and something faintly metallic that made my stomach flip. A nurse took my vitals without comment. As if I'd walked in every day with a crisis and they'd grown bored of the theatrics. I told them my symptoms, nausea, dizziness, a taste of pennies, and they ran tests. The fluorescent lights hummed while I sat on the plastic-backed chair and watched a clock crawl with deliberate cruelty. Detective Harris arrived an hour later, hair unkempt, eyes sharper than his smile. He asked questions like he could pry truth from the bones of words. When I'd last eaten, what I'd drunk, whether I had enemies, whether my marriage was troubled. When I mentioned Michael, my voice small, brittle, Harris raised a brow. You think he's involved? I don't know, I said. But he knows things. He's your boss, Harris interrupted. Your workplace and personal life overlap. That's usually where the knives are sharpest. I wanted to tell him about the note, the hushed voices at the door, Michael's confession. Instead I told him about the glass, the way Elena had watched me, and the note folded in her purse. Harris scribbled, tilt of pen like a verdict in progress. Keep your distance, he said when I left. Don't confront her. Don't do anything stupid. I laughed then, a sound like bones colliding. Too late. He didn't look surprised. Back at the apartment, it was as if the space itself had recoiled. Elena's toothbrush sat where she'd left it, bristles wet. Her favorite mug on the counter still had lipstick stains. Small, ordinary proofs that someone had been here, alive and ordinary, before ordinariness became a crime scene in my head. I wanted to rip the house apart. I wanted to find proof, photos, texts, anything. But when you search for treachery in the person you loved, everything you touch becomes evidence of your own failure. A sweater she forgot that smelled like another man, a receipt torn and folded into pockets, a phrase in a text that suddenly shivered with new meaning. I rifled through her purse because the thing that seems least like a betrayal, the mundane, the everyday, often hides the sharpest betrayals. Her phone was encrypted, because she liked privacy. She had a password she thought I would never guess. Our anniversary date, the one thing I'd never forget. For a stupid second that knowledge felt like power. I typed numbers like a man spinning a roulette wheel. It opened. The screen bloomed with messages stacked in neat columns. My stomach clenched at the familiarity of the name at the top. I can't do this anymore. You know that. Please. Not here. Not now. I scrolled, heart thudding hard enough to bruise the ribs. Thread after thread of banter and crude intimacies, of plans to meet after hours, of apologies couched in promises. There were nights when work ran late, texts from Michael asking if she was free, screenshots of flights, hotel addresses, barely coded rendezvous with city names and lipstick emojis. And then one thread in bold, colder than the rest. He says he won't leave unless I make you go. He says accidents happen. My fingers tightened around the phone until it bit into my palm. I backed away, as if the apartment itself might splinter and collapse. The evidence lay there, thin and absolute. Infidelity etched into pixels, a plan whispering around the margins. I should have called Michael. I should have called the detective. I should have called the world and screamed. Instead I sat on the floor, phone in hand, and watched the wallpaper, the stupid floral pattern we'd chosen together years ago, breathe under my vision like something alive and complicit. Guilt creeped in like mold. Not for what she had done. For what I had not seen. For the moments I had chosen sleep when there were questions to ask. For the nights I'd been at the office convincing myself I was doing it all for us. For the way I had blamed traffic and budgets instead of listening to the small things that curled and died in the corners of marriage. The detective called twice that afternoon. Each time the voice on the line repeated the same measured lines. Tests pending. We're keeping you for observation. If anything changes, call. Until he said, finally, there's something else. What? We found traces. You mean, poison? We don't know exactly what yet. But there are anomalies in your blood chemistry consistent with certain heavy metals. The lab will take time. For now, stay away from Elena. And from Michael. I ended the call and, for the first time in days, really cried. Not the small, controlled tears of earlier. This was ugly and guttural, rooted in the animal part of me that felt tricked and betrayed. Betrayed not only by Elena but by the very idea of trust itself. That night I slept on the couch, wrapped in a blanket that smelled faintly of her. In sleep, I dreamt of glass, shards like teeth, cutting, and woke with the taste of iron in my mouth. Morning came with the sun sliding over the blinds and painting the room in the kind of soft light that makes it easier to see things for what they are. Elena knocked at the door around noon, tentative like she expected me to fling myself at her feet. Her face was paper-thin, eyes hollowed by either sorrow or cunning. I could no longer tell the difference. Can we talk? She asked. I didn't open the door. I had 1,000 replies ready, accusations, pleas, a litany of all the ways she'd broken us, but my voice felt dry. She sat on the steps and began to speak before I opened my mouth. Her words came out clipped and rapid, as if rehearsed. It wasn't supposed to go that far, she said. I echoed. Was trying to kill me part of that far? She grabbed for my hand when I opened the door. Her fingers were cold. Please don't shut me out. You put poison in my drink, I said. I didn't. Her mouth trembled. I didn't mean for you to. You didn't mean for me to die. I barked. That's the defense. Tears spilled from her eyes. Not crocodile, I told myself, not fake. They looked like real grief. They hit her cheeks and left tracks like tributaries in chalk. She looked like someone who'd come from a great distance, drawn and small, carrying a canyon of decisions on her back. You have to believe me, she whispered. I was scared. Michael, he promised he would leave if I did the one thing. I laughed then, but the sound was cruel and empty. The one thing. He said, her voice broke. He said make you go. Make you disappear. Something that couldn't be traced back to him or to me. Accidents, he said. Slips. Natural causes. How did it become poison? I asked. Why not a car crash? Why risk this? She shook her head. He said the labs would miss it. He said certain substances show up as common ailments. He said it would look like something you'd swallow by accident. And you listened. She flinched like I'd struck her. I was afraid to lose him. I thought if I made it look like an accident you would be gone but not hurt and he would leave. I thought. You thought. I thought maybe we could start over. I thought we could. Leave it all behind. I was reckless. I was selfish. I know. Her words tumbled out in a rush of confession. But then I changed my mind. I didn't want you to die. She reached into her bag and pulled out a tin, small and unassuming, the kind you'd keep mints in. I kept it. After he told me what to do, I freaked. I took it out. I thought about throwing it away, but she stopped and pressed her palms to her eyes. I froze. I couldn't. I thought if I gave it back to him, he'd know I turned. My breath felt like a fist closing around my lungs. You hid it, I said. She nodded. I didn't want to hurt you. I wanted to stop it. I thought if I had evidence I could make him leave. I was going to blackmail him. I was going to make him choose. Choose what? I wanted to scream. Choose between you and me? Choose to be decent. She looked at me with raw, naked shame. Choose to leave. Choose to make this end. The absurdity of it struck me. Blackmail? Bargaining with poison? And it made me more afraid than the idea that she'd actually tried to kill me. The moral calculus she'd made was not linear. It was all jagged corners and hypocrisy. She'd put the worst possible thing into motion and then tried to play puppet master with the outcomes. What did you do with it? I asked. She swallowed. I hid it. I was going to destroy it, but I couldn't bring myself to. I thought I could keep it away from him without telling you. Without telling me. The words drummed at my skull. And then the delivery came, she said, voice low. The box. I panicked. I thought he had brought something to the house. I didn't know. You let it slip, I said. Like the glass. Her face crumpled. I didn't poison you, she insisted. I swear to God, I didn't touch your drink. I thought about it every night. I wanted to tell you. I wanted to destroy it. I didn't. The honesty in her voice was ugly and humiliating. Even as I listened, the detective's warning flitted through my mind. Stay away from Elena. Stay away from Michael. You don't know who will do what when cornered. I don't know what to believe, I said finally. She looked up, hope appearing like a phantom. Please. Go to the police. Tell them everything. Help me stop him. I wanted to. I wanted to run to Harris and lay all of it out like a confession and get Eli and Michael into the crosshairs of the law. Part of me, rational, terrified, yearned for legal justice, something clean that would let me be the wronged man. But another, darker part of me tasted something else, revenge. The idea that I could hurt him back, measure for measure, made a hard little kernel of satisfaction grow inside my chest. It surprised me how quickly my thoughts darkened. Imagining Michael's face when he lost everything, imagining Elena free of him, imagining the quiet of being the one who had the last word. For a moment I let myself imagine walking into Michael's office and telling him it was over, watching the color drain, feeling my heart slam against chest. The vision was ugly and immediate. I looked at Elena and felt my whole life collapse into two directions, lawful justice and something more personal, more ruinous. You have to go to Michael, I said. You have to make him confess. Or I will. But you go first. She hesitated. I can't. Heal. Then tell me where the tin is. She reached into her bag with trembling fingers and handed me a small, clinking tin. It was heavier than it looked and warmer from being inside someone's pocket. I held it and felt the weight of all the choices that had led to this moment precariously balanced inside my palm. What are you going to do with it? She asked. I thought of the lab reports pending, of the detective's measured voice, of the fragility of the life I still had. I thought of Michael leaning back in his leather chair, a small smile at the corner of his mouth because he believed himself untouchable. I thought of the deadening cold of betrayal and how sometimes, when pain is hot, people make choices the color of ash. I don't know, I said. She shut her eyes, and when she opened them again there was a plea so raw and human that it cut through my fury. Please, she whispered. Please don't let this tear us beyond saving. There's a certain cruelty in the world where asking to be spared absolution doesn't free anyone. Her words, earnest and shattered, asked me to be both judge and savior. I stood in the doorway with a tin of potential murder in my hand and felt the slow turning of the moral gears inside me, too exhausted and raw to make a clear decision. On the table behind me, the phone buzzed. It was a message from an unknown number. Unknown. We need to talk. Midnight. 24th Street Park. Alone. No name. No signature. Just the kind of summons that feels like a trap. I looked down at Elena, at the sorrow in her face, and then at the tin in my hand. The night swollen ahead of us felt like an animal ready to pounce, and there was nowhere safe to run. Tell me everything, I said. She began, voice small and frayed, and I listened, because listening was the only thing I could do without tearing the world further apart. Midnight lived differently in the park. During the day it was open, harmless, kids laughing on the swings, joggers tracing loops around the fountains, dog walkers calling names into the air like charms against boredom. But after dark, everything softened into shadow. Trees became silhouettes, pathways became veins pulsing with distant streetlight glow. The silence grew teeth. I arrived 10 minutes early. The tin sat in my jacket pocket, metal warm from my body heat, but also strangely heavy, as if the choices inside it carried their own gravity. Elena had cried into her hands after telling me everything, dissolving into regret and fear, but she didn't try to stop me from leaving. That alone said more than all her words. A cold breeze knifed through the branches. Somewhere close, a dog barked once, then nothing. I stood beneath the lamppost at the park's center, the halo of light thin and unreliable. The benches looked like figures huddling together, whispering secrets they would never share. I checked the message again. We need to talk. Midnight. 24th Street Park. Alone. A twig snapped behind me. I turned, muscles taut, breath held. Michael stepped into the lamplight. He wasn't dressed like himself. Not the polished boss with iron shirts and perfect posture. His collar was crooked. His hair messy. His face, hollow. Thanks for coming, he said quietly. Every instinct told me not to speak first. What do you want, Michael? He exhaled, breath fogging in the cold. I need you to hear me out. Hear you out? I scoffed. After everything? After the affair? After? She told you, didn't she? He interrupted. I stiffened. Everything. He nodded slowly. Good. Then you know she's dangerous. The accusation felt absurd enough to laugh at. Dangerous? Elena, with her trembling hands and fractured voice? But then Michael stepped closer, and the look in his eyes wasn't triumphant or manipulative. It was fear. Not the cheap kind people use to excuse their lies. A deep, marrow-level fear. You're afraid of her? I asked. I've been afraid of her for months, he said. Longer, probably. I just didn't see it at first. The wind hissed through the leaves above us. What do you mean? I demanded. Michael looked around the dark park as though Elena herself might step out from behind a tree. She didn't tell you everything, he said. No, I shot back. Just the part where you told her to poison me. He flinched, not dramatically, but sharply, as if I'd slapped him. That wasn't my idea, he said. It was hers. The world tilted. What? She came to me, he said, voice shaking. She came with a plan. Not the other way around. I felt the blood rush out of my face. You're lying, I said. She told me. She told you a version. He cut in. The version where she becomes the scared woman manipulated by the big, bad boss. That's how she thinks. How she operates. She said you pressured her. Threatened to leave if she didn't. Michael laughed, but there was no humor in it. God, she's good. You expect me to believe. He raised a hand, stopping me. You know what she used to tell me about you. I didn't want to hear it, but the words spilled anyway. She said you were weak, he whispered. Too emotional. That you held her back. That she felt trapped with you. She said you were ruining your own chances at work and it embarrassed her. My heart dropped like a stone thrown into dark water. No, I said, but the denial felt thin, even to me. She said she wanted a partner with ambition, he continued. Someone who wouldn't crumble every time life got hard. That's not her, I said. You're twisting. Am I? Or are you realizing she twists everything to whoever she's speaking to at the time? I took a step back without meaning to. Michael noticed. And for a moment, he looked genuinely sorry. I didn't love her, he said. Not really. It was convenient at first. She knew how to say the things you're not supposed to say. She made me feel invincible, like rules didn't apply to us. But then she changed. Or I realized she'd been like that the whole time. The lamppost above us flickered. Changed how? I whispered. The night inhaled, waiting. She started talking about you, he said, voice low. How life would be easier if certain problems disappeared. How accidents could solve everything. A sick, cold dread seeped into my bones. She brought up poison, he added. She said she could slip it into your food and no one would ever know. I staggered back another step. Michael stepped forward. I told her she was insane. I told her to leave me out of it. When I tried to break things off, she said she wouldn't let me walk away. That she would end the problem without my help. My pulse roared in my ears. She told me she dropped poison in your drink last week, he whispered. And last night. She said she was surprised you were still standing. Every breath I took felt like swallowing glass. She lied, I said. She told me she didn't. She lies like people breathe, Michael said. It's instinct. I swallowed hard, tasting iron. She played us both, he continued. Told you I forced her. Told me she was doing it for love. She says whatever fits the moment. You know that. Images slammed through my mind. Elena's trembling hands. Her fear when the delivery arrived. Her half-truths. The note from Michael. The glass slipping from her hand. A test showing traces in my blood. Her sobbing confession. Which version was real? I didn't know anymore. Michael watched me process it with a kind of grim patience. I came tonight, he said, because you deserve to know the truth before she spins something new. She's dangerous, man. To both of us. Then why meet here? I whispered. Because I heard her on the phone earlier, he said. She said she was going to fix everything tonight. And she wasn't talking to me. A cold, sharp terror stabbed through my chest. Where is she now? I asked. He opened his mouth to answer, but a third voice cut through the night. Right here. We both spun. Elena stepped out from behind a tree, illuminated by the flickering lamplight. Her face was calm, too calm. The kind of calm that comes after a decision, not before one. If you were going to talk about me, she said softly, you should have chosen a park with fewer blind spots. Michael stiffened. I froze. Elena stepped forward, hands visible, no weapon. Yet something predatory in her posture made my skin crawl. You didn't tell him everything, did you? She asked Michael. He swallowed. Elena. Don't, she whispered. Don't lie to me now. Her eyes flicked to me. Not pleading. Not ashamed. Studying. Calculating. I told you the truth, she said. I told you everything. That's not what he says, I murmured. Her smile was small and brittle. His trying to save himself. And you aren't. I whispered. She didn't flinch. You think he didn't manipulate me, she said. You think he didn't push? You think he didn't use his power over you, over us, to pull strings? Michael barked a laugh. Power? You're the one who. Shut up, she snapped. The moment cracked open. Everything spilled out. You broke me, she hissed at him. You made me forget who I was. You made me believe I deserved more, needed more, and then you tried to abandon me when it got complicated. And poisoning your husband. Michael shot back. Was that complicated too? Her jaw tightened. I didn't poison him. That's not what you told me. And that's not what you told him, she shot back. Funny how these stories change depending on the audience. My chest constricted. Which one was the truth? Which one wasn't? Elena stepped toward me. You know me. You know I would never hurt you. Michael stepped between us. Don't you take another step. Elena's eyes sharpened. You don't get to control me anymore. I'm not trying to control you, he said through clenched teeth. I'm trying to keep him alive. Silence. And then Elena whispered, You already ruined everything. Michael reached into his coat, quickly, too quickly, and Elena reacted before I could even process it. She lunged, tackling him to the ground. A glint of metal flashed, his phone, not a weapon. But the two of them were already struggling, rolling in the dirt and dead leaves. Elena, stop! I yelled. Michael cried out as her nails raked across his cheek. He shoved her, hard, and she hit the ground with a grunt, but she scrambled up with a feral intensity one had never seen. She went for him again. And instinct, not thought, took over. I moved. I grabbed her arm, pulling her back. Elena, stop! She twisted violently. Let go of me. Michael staggered to his feet, blood dripping from his cheek. She's insane. Shut up, she screamed. She fought against me, wild, panicked. For a moment I held her, barely, her breath hot against my neck, her pulse hammering like a hummingbird beating itself against a cage. Please, she gasped. Please, you have to believe me. I don't know what to believe, I whispered. Her eyes widened, not in anger, not in fear, in something breaking. Then everything happened at once. Michael lunged toward us. Elena jerked away. I tried to hold on. Her foot slipped on wet leaves. She fell backward. Too fast. Too hard. Too sudden for either of us to catch her. Her skull hit the concrete edge of the fountain with a sickening crack. Silence swallowed the world. The kind of silence that doesn't have space for breath. I froze. Michael froze. Elena lay crumpled, unmoving. Her hair fanned out like a dark halo around spreading red. No, I whispered, knees buckling. No, Elena. I dropped beside her, hands trembling, but the moment I touched her cheek I knew. She was gone. Michael staggered backward, horror washing over his face. This wasn't, I didn't. I couldn't speak, couldn't breathe, couldn't think. The woman who had lied. The woman who had cried in my arms. The woman who had betrayed me. The woman I once loved. The woman who tried, maybe, to kill me. The woman who maybe saved me. The woman who maybe damned us all. All those versions disappeared in one instant, replaced by this one final truth. She was dead. And both of us had pushed her there. Sirens wailed in the distance. Someone must have heard the fight. Michael looked at me, eyes wide with panic. We have to tell them. We have to. But I wasn't listening. My hand slipped into my jacket. Fingers curling around the tin. The poison she'd hidden. The poison she might have used. The poison she might never have touched. Truth didn't matter anymore. Only one question did. Who would the world believe? The grieving husband? Or the adulterous boss bleeding from scratches he couldn't explain? The sirens grew louder. Michael's breaths came in short, terrified bursts. We have to get our story straight. We have to. I looked at him. And in that moment, I understood everything with icy clarity. Stories, I said quietly. Yes, we do. He didn't see the decision form in my eyes. Didn't see the tin shift in my hand. Because betrayal doesn't end when someone falls. It ends when someone decides how the story will be told. And I already knew exactly how this one would end. With truth buried. With guilt rewritten. With justice, or vengeance, served in the only way left. The poison felt heavy. But my choice? My choice had never been clearer. And as the sirens broke into the park, I finally understood why betrayal cuts so deep. Because the blade is always in the hands of someone you once trusted to hold your heart.